Welcome back to Crit and Crit! I am Axion.
I'm Sit.
And we are continuing through Final Fantasy V and getting ready to wrap up our discussion of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix as we enter Fork Tower, one of the most annoying dungeons in the game.
What about Spoon Tower? Did we do Spoon Tower yet?
There is no Spoon Tower. X-Death
What
ate
about
it.
Knife Tower?
That's X-Death.
Knife Tower is a tree. You see, they should really make an easier mode where it's a little bit blunted and it's Fork Tower.
I knew that's where you were going.
It would just be much more versatile. Anyway, our topic today is, well, intelligence. Specifically, what makes a character smart?
Well, first off, one moment. Apologies for that. Needed to do some looking up. Go ahead, son.
What makes a character smart? Or what makes a person smart? What do you think?
Well, that is a complicated and multifaceted question.
I also have to note here, I could only hear that suggestion in the voice of Fred from Scooby-Doo. Let's split up, gang!
I mean, is it too far off?
Well, I don't think we're gonna have a giant dog come in and demand food to do anything. So I think we're a little bit safer than Scooby-Doo.
I mean,
yeah.
I could set Trail back to Summoner again.
You could. On the other hand, we're actually fighting legitimate monsters who are throwing fire and things at you, and not just an old man in a ghost costume trying to abuse capitalism for personal gain. Like literally every episode of Scooby-Doo ever.
I mean, that's also fair.
We're off track though. So yeah, it is a multifaceted question about what makes a person smart. And, well, we actually get a decent variety in Harry Potter, I think.
So the obvious one here is Hermione. Hermione is typically seen as the brains of the primary trio, with Ron being the brawn and Harry being the mediator.
And let's be fair, not to be cruel to the characters or anything, but Hermione doesn't have to work that hard to be the smart one of those three. Let's just be perfectly honest about that.
Oh no, that is completely accurate. There's something that...
You do remember that we just had to have her explain in this book that maybe while you're on a date with a girl, you shouldn't say, I need to leave the date to go hang out with another girl that I'm always spending time with. Because, yes, she's going to be upset. And you would think that this would be something that would be immediate common sense to anyone who has spent 5 minutes in a society that has dating as a thing. Because even though Harry has not had dating experience before, I'm sure he has heard TV through the walls of the Dursleys' house, and sitcom relationship whoopsie-doodles are like every 5 minutes. So yeah. I guess right there with Hermione, we have a couple of different forms of intelligence right off the bat. We have academic intelligence, the ability to learn quickly and recall various information as needed, but we also have emotional intelligence and situational awareness. But, as mentioned before, Hermione is not a flawless student the way she's constantly portrayed. She straight up dropped out of divination because she could not get her brain to process the class the way Trelawney was teaching them, which I'm still not sure meant Hermione is bad at divination, so much as it was that, well, Trelawney was only able to really reach the students who already bought into everything she was saying, which, personal experience, you have to be able to find different ways to phrase things, because not everybody is always going to be on your wavelength at all times.
And you are the teacher between the two of us, so I would definitely say that you have a better experience here than we.
Look, if I repeat 15 times you need to put the comma in the right spot, that doesn't tell you where the right spot is. If I do not correctly tell you how to use the comma, that's kind of on me for you not knowing how to use the comma. Now, on the other hand, if I have shown you exactly where to put the comma and explained to you why it goes there and you're still not getting it, even though I have tried 16 different explanations and ways to make you understand this is why the comma goes there, then it becomes on you. But since I have exhausted my resources at that point, I've at least done my due diligence and done my best effort.
Yep. Which is all we can really ask of people reasonably.
Yeah, like, you can't get everyone 100% of the time, but we never see Trelawney even attempt anything other than, well, if you're not seeing your death, I'm not sure this is legitimate prophecy. Which is why Ron and Harry just start...
I was about to say, it starts becoming a running gag around halfway through the
first
book.
assignment, well, book 3, like, the first assignment they get is just like, yeah, no.
I think there's a point where one of them says something along the lines of, or the narration rather, might have said it, they had predicted their deaths, something like...
I think they found a different way to die for, like, every 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it was a lot. And they had Hermione looking over and proofreading, and she was just like, I think you're drowning twice, actually. So, yeah. And of course Trelawney eats it up, which, yeah. So, Hermione is too analytical for, the really open to interpretation fields of magic, which also shows up in the fact that she becomes very rigid in other regards. She does not believe conspiracy theories. She does not believe anything outside the ordinary. She openly disdains the Quibbler to Luna's face. Granted, before she realizes that Luna's father writes it and publishes it. But, yeah. Hermione knows what Hermione knows and will recite Hogwarts history to you quite often. She has an extremely good recall of obscure facts that not many people bother to learn, and is very good at finding different places in which they would become useful. She is willing to put in an intense amount of work to learn how to be a good witch, and is why when she arrives at the school, she's already more of a practiced caster than Harry is, despite having less wizarding pedigree. This is new to her, and she wants to do well with it, so of course she's going to do all the extra legwork to make herself more viable in... You should probably just keep Ferris down at this point.
I was about to say, I think I have to.
But yeah, Hermione is naturally very smart, but she's also willing to work her butt off to make sure she hones that. As mentioned in this book, she's capable of doing magic that they would expect, like, the highest level about to graduate students to do, and some of those would even struggle with, like the Protean Charm. And yet she's not in Ravenclaw, which is theoretically where, quote, all the smart kids go. Turns out the Sorting Hat considered putting her there and ultimately decided Gryffindor. We don't know if she chose Gryffindor over Ravenclaw. I actually wonder if Gryffindor is entirely people who chose it, because we know Ron was desperately thinking, please put me in Gryffindor with the rest of my family, don't make me stand out. Harry didn't want to be in Slytherin. So it could just be everyone in Gryffindor is someone who chose to be there. But yeah, Hermione could have easily ended up a Ravenclaw, and no one would have been surprised in the slightest. On the other hand, Hermione is not always right. She usually is, so you definitely want to listen to her quite a lot because she generally knows what she's talking about most of the time. But in some cases, she just is flat out wrong or overtly dismissive of anything that doesn't fit into her worldview.
Yep.
Which we see through Luna. Luna, who needs all the hugs and is a precious cinnamon roll, is also incredibly smart. She is in Ravenclaw, so we know that she is probably got pretty good grades, but she's also very, very offbeat. She does not fit in normally with others her age. She knows that people call her Loony Lovegood because she's a little bit airy-fairy, and again, she's constantly reading the Quilver, which her dad edits and publishes, and she's the first to mention all these odd things that there's not really much proof of. It's the cryptids, ironically, in the Wizarding world, so we don't know if they're real or not. But most people would disregard them.
Most people, yeah.
Yeah.
She's the only person who ever mentions them. They're never mentioned by anyone else. Hagrid never makes mention of them.
Yeah. But she also seems to just, have that situational and emotional awareness that a lot of people seem to lack. She can see the Thestrals, and what she notices Harry freaking out about it, and does try to assure him, don't worry, you're not insane, I can see them too. But she doesn't really call attention to why. And it's not until the end of the book that Harry actually bothers to ask. So, yeah. Luna and Hermione are both, as we mentioned, very smart people with two very, very different ways of looking at the world. And it does cause some conflict between them, mostly because Hermione is more than a little condescending to her, and Luna doesn't really self-advocate very well. But there are other characters as well, I think, who show this. Early on in the series, we see Ron is actually really good at chess. He's a pretty good tactician. Harry's really good at defense against the dark arts. Neville is really, really good at herbology. Ginny is a very, very good hexer. So, yeah, just through our getting out into our secondary leads, we have a pretty wide variety of talents, even though they're not normally talked up as the smart ones who are really good at everything like Hermione is.
And I think to some degree, a lot of this is just, at least in part, because of the way storytelling shorthand tends to work. There's a thing, I was going to mention this earlier when we were talking about Hermione being the smart one of the trio, called the power trio, that at least by things like TV tropes. And that's usually where you have someone who is highly intelligent, like Hermione, and primarily the intellectual backbone of the group. Someone who is impulsive and prone to physical action, like Ron, and then a person who's between them and tends to be the diplomatic one, which in this case would be Harry.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this just because it's been a lot more of a thing in recent years to, not write off the smart character as just the smart one, the nerd to be disregarded. We're getting more acceptance of, different types of intelligence, different characters who are experts in their own way. We're allowing people to, succeed through different perspectives more than we normally would. We're actually able to see a small ensemble where more than one person is allowed to be the smart guy. So many major stories can only handle having one smart person in the room. Do not get me started on the frickin' Avengers franchise, where they seem to be falling headfirst into that trap over and over again, because no one's allowed to be smarter than Tony Stark, even though it does. I'm good.
I was actually going to ask, did you want to go on your Tony Stark rant?
We get it, you like Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark is compelling, but why does he have to be the one who's allowed to do anything in that franchise when you also have theoretical physicist Bruce Banner and Masters of Electrical Engineering Scott Lang in the cast, and, you know, the former Soviet counter spy Natasha Romanoff, and all these characters whose backstories would say that they're highly intelligent and capable of contributing here? Realistically, the ones who make the most sense to be the dumb guy in the room would be Captain America and Thor, because they don't have that kind of training and background. But no, let's just... I'm good. I'll stop. I do not think Endgame and Infinity War were well written or handled well. And don't at me, I'm not going to listen to your wrong opinion about why it's such a good thing. It was purely edgelord crap for clicks. And we all know it because they undid all the edgelordy stuff by the end of the next movie, so we knew there was no emotional value to it.
Feel better?
No. But I've gone off topic enough, so the floor is yours.
So, finally, got some MP back. So we have Hermione and we have Luna.
Sorry, I just noticed he basically looks like the Pope of fashion nightmares.
Oh, he's not even the worst. There's another boss later who's even more ostentatious. With regards to having elaborate, stupid robes.
Is that a kitty on his amulet?
No, it's a Spark X thing.
It looks like a cat. I'm not going to unsee that. I am so glad the evil Pope of Magic has his Hello Kitty bangles.
It does look like he's wearing, like, this really oversized rosary. Oh, why did you have to do that? Now we have to bounce spells off of ourselves.
Hello Kitty full of kawaii, hallowed be thy name. I'm sorry, I don't think we're coming back from this one. What do you have to add?
I can't believe you said that.
But yeah, I'm glad that the Harry Potter series was at least capable of introducing different types of smart character and allowing them their chances to shine.
Ah, crud, the reflect wore off.
Use Protect, all attacks will miss for this turn. I learned that way by fighting Pelipers.
Ah, his is still up. That's bogus.
That's shocking.
Anyway, this boss is annoying. Anyway, other characters that we could have a look at with regards to this. Off the top of your head, who else falls into the idea of the smart character in their own unique way?
You could make the case for Hagrid, because, well, for all of his rough around the edges, didn't finish his education, undereducated accent in some regards, as we can see from when he's constantly needled by Rita Skeeter and Umbridge, and basically all the Slytherins, he is extremely good with animals.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Like, Snape is very, very good at potions. I don't know how he is with regard to other things.
He does seem to know enough about Defense of the Dark Arts to, one, to be a viable, possible, teacher thereof.
See, on the one hand, yes. On the other hand, we can now say that Lockhart and Umbridge also were possible Defense Against the Dark Arts teachers, and
I wouldn't say Umbridge, because we never see her actually display any ability at performing the kind of magic needed to do the job. She just tells kids to read a book and be quiet.
That's my point. Lockhart and Umbridge were also seen as being fit for the position.
Well, that's
so
my
maybe...
point, is they weren't. They got the job, but they did not display that they were competent. Snape...
That's what I'm getting at, is...
Well, I'm saying
Snape has the talent and the know-how for it, but that doesn't guarantee being a good fit for the position any more than the other disasters in that position have been. So far, the only Defense Against the Dark Arts teachers that we've seen that have shown actual aptitude in Defense Against the Dark Arts have been a werewolf and a convicted torturer murderer.
Yeah, fair point. But
so I mean,
even then, on top of that, we've also seen that Snape is quite competent at an extremely rare, extremely difficult form of magic in occlumency, and the other one I can never remember.
Brain magic.
Yeah,
going with brain magic.
Mind reading magic. And from everything that everyone has said about it, this is an extremely difficult form of magic to wrap your head around. And Snape is not only capable of doing so, but capable of teaching it, even if not being a good teacher for Harry. He is capable and competent at the subject in question, even if his personality and behavior and Harry's own personality and behavior and exaggerating the problem made it not work out. And I am sure that if it had been Snape working with someone else, like, say, Malfoy, someone he got along with, there would have been no difficulty whatsoever in actually teaching the skill that needed to be taught. The problems with that came from interpersonal relationships and interactions, not from Snape's lack of skill or knowledge or understanding.
Which probably like to benefit if they had like a neutral third party in the room or something, like having a para in a classroom, but Hogwarts doesn't really do much in the way of support services, as we've noticed.
We have commented on this several times. Oh, this is Wolftown.
It's so cheap. Other characters who I would say should have been mentioned that I'm kind of ashamed I didn't mention sooner. The twins.
Yes! Fred
yeah,
George.
Their grades are fine. Like, they're not A students or, well, O students. They're not top students or anything at Hogwarts, but they have no problem keeping up with their schoolwork and inventing interesting new joke equipment on the side, to the point where they're literally just showing up for their 7th year because it'll shut mom up, and also we cannot advertise our new stuff, and we are absolutely not averse to dropping out in the middle of the year after hexing a hallway so badly that Umbridge can't deal with it and setting off all the fireworks we have across the entire school so she has to deal with it, and weaponizing the prankster poltergeist against her in our absence. The only time Peeves has ever taken an order from a student. Give her hell for us. And not just takes the order, he salutes them solemnly before doing so. But yeah, pretty good scholar athletes, honestly. They both play Quidditch until Umbridge bans them for no reason. And they still have their business going through the entire year, and it's even after they leave, their legacy is still just making Umbridge's life a living hell with all of their prankster equipment that they've sold already.
And I can't really think of anyone else that really could stand a, Oh, maybe I should talk to this guy.
I mean, in a negative light, we've got Malfoy, who very clearly has social awareness and uses that knowledge for evil.
Yeah, Malfoy is very cunning.
Which is why he's a Slytherin.
Yeah.
Cunning and ambition.
And he has those, and he is quite capable. And he's also got a lot of social capability. He's very commanding. He has charisma.
Yep, even if he didn't have the position in society he has the innate know-how and grasp on social awareness that he probably would have managed to get his own little bully posse anyway.
Yep. And, well, I guess the only the inevitable response past that is Voldemort. Voldemort is a highly intelligent, extremely capable wizard with a lot of social influence. He's extremely dangerous because of how competent he is, both at his ability to do magic as the Dark Lord of Wizards, but also his abilities as a person, as a social speaker, as a more or less a politician, as a person who has influence in society. He uses it in the most malicious way possible, of course, but you can't really deny that he's a capable person in that regard, if only just because that's what makes him an efficient villain. He is a threat because he has these capabilities. Where is the... I'm looking for the castle. Where is the sealed castle?
It'll probably be near the Sea Lion Castle and the Otter Castle.
You know, I probably should have seen that coming.
Probably. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else I can add here.
We have kind of let this particular subject run its course, and I think we've covered just about everyone who could reasonably be considered.
And if we've missed some, I'm sure someone will comment, and we can maybe address that in the future. But for now, maybe we should just call it here, and we can start off at the next place when we come back with the Half-Blood Prince.
Yep. We are moving our way into the end game of Final Fantasy, as well as into the last few books of Harry Potter. So it's only a matter of time before both... Oh, here it is. Before both of those get wrapped up. We will begin... Well, we will be taking our usual between books break and looking at something a little older, a little darker,
and a little spookier.
Just in time for Halloween, I believe.
Huzzah! Bye!
And we'll see you guys with Harry Potter and Final Fantasy V when we're done with that. See y'all then.